Imagine if you are starting a business or trying to scale a business, but all you have is challenges and obstacles along your way. And it's because, no, not because of the economy. No, not because there's no good marketing out there. It's because internally you yourself are creating all of these problems that do not allow you to move forward with your business success. What if you are the creator of your own reality? What if you are the one that is making all of these obstacles your way? Maybe because you are afraid of success, or maybe because you are tied to a past experience that does not allow you to move forward. Well, today on this episode, I have an expert transformational coach that's going to talk about how to improve your relationships in business and personal, and how to create the reality that you deserve to have, whether it's in business or whether it's personal wise. So with that, welcome to Scale to Exit with Alejandra Santos, your hostess with the mostest. And I am thrilled to have our speaker here today on our first YouTube podcast episode. So if you're watching us on YouTube for the first time, hi! And our guest is called Mark Mostaed.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi.
That's my name.
So Mark has about over a decade of experience in holistic health, holistic training, holistic coaching, and he evolved his education and his experience into helping people heal themselves to produce the life that they deserve to have. So Mark, am I saying your last name correctly? Mostaed.
Mark Mostaed.
There you go. Ooh. Okay. So tell us, Mark, thank you for being here today.
Yeah.
Tell us how you became the transformational coach that you are.
Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, I love what you just said there in the intro. Like, you're speaking to something that I think people resonate with. It's like there's a lot of different techniques to business, and this isn't really primarily my focus, but I do have clients that bring this thing to me. And so you're looking at the outside world and you're trying to get a result from it. And you're noticing like, hey, something's not working here, and there's a block inside. And so I think I realized early on in the game that my inner world, my emotions, the things that were holding me back, my trauma, was very important and was critical in building a happy and healthy life. And so that led me into teaching yoga, mindfulness practices, meditation, and doing that for a full-time living for 15 years. And as I got deeper into that practice, kind of taking that more into the one-on-one space and offering even more value to people by being the mirror and allowing them to kind of remove the blocks that are holding them back from having that dream life, from having the beautiful relationship, the career, the money in the bank account. And I'm happy to be of service to that.
Can you share with us what kind of experience led for you to become this person?
Yeah, so I think a lot of terrible things. You know, it just, you see enough iterations of yourself out there in the world through different failures, I think, and different mistakes that I've made in my life, and choosing to stay on the path, choosing to keep my eyes open, to lead with my heart, even when that's really difficult, has kept me in place and kept me moving forward and growing. And just many times where I wanted to throw in the towel, or I wanted to quit life, where I wanted to go home with my tail between my legs, and did, and just kind of realized there's another way, that there's a choice here, that there's this free will that I'm playing with, and let's see where it can go, you know?
Can you share with us a moment where you had that breakthrough? What led to that breakthrough?
What led to the breakthrough? Well, I mean, there's been a lot of milestones along the way. I mean, several years ago, I ended a marriage with a woman who I had children with, and that was a big ordeal. It was happening in the middle of a pandemic. So kind of a big moment in my life where I experienced this big upheaval and rug being pulled out, and just had to really face myself in the mirror for the choices that I was making and how that was playing out in my life. And so, through going through that specific experience, I did a lot more work on myself. Took a good hard look in the mirror and just consider the ways in which I was creating the circumstances in my life, and how I could do that from a greater space of self-love and compassion, and to, bring my unique gifts and skills into this world to help other people do that as well, who might be going through hard times, who might be experiencing a similar struggle in a relationship, getting their heart broken, or whatever it is that's bringing you down in life, right?
Yes. So you said something very important. You said, I am creating my own circumstances, which I think is a first step, right? To people creating their own reality.
Yeah, totally. Nobody's a victim.
Okay.
Yeah, we're all creators, right? We're made in the image of God, I believe. And so what that means is we get this beautiful mind and imagination and creative space to birth to life anything that we want to do here in our time, and to take back that power as creators, and then recognize that, we're in a society that likes to impose a lot of its impressions and media and images onto us and tell us how that we need to live our lives. But I think if you want to be happy, you've got to take a good hard look on the inside and see who you are and what makes you unique and your personality and your soul's purpose here on this planet, and bring that out into life. So yeah, you're a creator.
So you are a creator of your personal life, of your business life. So what happens when somebody that has a business really is facing a lot of obstacles to move forward? Why do you think that is?
Well, it could be a lot of things, right? Like we were talking about, there's the external factors, the market, of course.
Of course.
But there's the inner psychology to that, and does this person understand their goals? And like, not just like, I want to make this much money or I want to do this one thing. Like, do they understand their why behind that? Do they understand what the real motivating, driving factor is within their heart? Because I think like with business, like we associate that with financial success. And so it's like, okay, well, it seems pretty obvious to us why we want to have that, but I don't know that a lot of people have really fully sat with that and said, okay, like I want to feel financial freedom because it will actually feel this way, and I'll actually like think this way, because a lot of people you see, like they are successful in business or they make a lot of money, and then they get to the place of dissatisfaction and like they're missing something from their life. And so that's why it's so important to connect back to that. Why connect back to the emotions behind it, what you're actually seeking to do here. And are you just seeking to validate yourself in some way? Or is it that you're really actually validating, your heart, your passion, your dream, And I think just off the top of my head, with an obscure question like that's what comes to mind. Yeah.
So you said about, I am a business owner. And everybody that's listening to us either wants to build a business or already have a business or thinking to go in for an exit. But you said a lot about going inside. You said a lot about healing as well. So what happens when we create our own reality and we're bringing people into our own reality, business-wise or personal-wise, that is not really what we want, and they're not giving us the experience that we are really looking for? What has to happen inside of us to change that?
I think recognizing that there's value in every experience.
Okay.
Especially if you're experiencing a not so nice one.
Yeah.
And again, that's back to that idea that we're creating our reality. And so why is this person showing up in our reality? Is there a pattern? Is there a theme to this kind of individual being in my life? And what are they trying to teach me? What's showing up here? And can I take the spotlight again? Because if we're creators, can I take the spotlight off of them, put it back on myself and be like, okay, well, what am I contributing here? That's playing into this dynamic, that's attracted this kind of individual who I'm seeing is unhealthy to me, or at least it feels that way. And so I think until you really get that message and really hit it home and integrate that, it's probably going to continue to persist.
So it persists on relationships, and it persists on like whoever you're dating, and it persists on whoever you're doing business with.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. It's all a reflection of us, right? It's all a reflection of the relationship with ourselves, right? Because business is a relationship. You need customers, you need people to buy your product. And so you are creating these relationships. And even I would argue that your consumers would take on a certain dynamic, right? From a marketing perspective. And this isn't my specialty, but I know that you talk about like demographics and types and things like that. And so, there's a certain kind of individual who is either buying or not buying your product, and maybe taking a deeper look into what some of those more psychological, emotional states are there, and how they reflect you. Right. Not just your consumer, but how they might be actually reflecting you as a business operator.
Okay.
And how that interplays with your specific goals and needs and desires in that framework.
Wow, that's heavy, guys. So basically, you need to heal yourself in order to bring more quality people and clients into your life as well. Basically, to attract what you want in your life.
Yeah.
So what does healing yourself mean?
Oh. Can I pass now? Well, listen, I think that we all come in as children of God. Whatever religion or denomination or faith you're in, like we're all these beautiful, perfect babies and children. And there's an innocence to us, right? And throughout our lives, that might become corrupted through our family systems, through our caretakers or the lack of our caretakers, and we become wounded, right? And we see that there's some contrast in this physical earth world. We fall down, we get hurt. Right? The physical stuff is more obvious, but there's an emotional component to this, and that can create trauma when those emotional needs aren't fully met in the way that's conducive to the inner child. And obviously, like all of us have experienced that to some degree or another. So I think healing is essentially a coming back to that original state of pure positive energy, and that unique purpose and personality and essence of the individual child. The playfulness, the curiosity, the joy, right? The joy. Because I think we can get carried away in business and it can be really black and white, but we forget about that joy element. And so healing is bringing us back into that love, that joy, that pure state, integrated into the healthy adult who can use reasoning and logic and critical thinking skills to create the next iteration of our life.
So do you think that the more healed we are, the better we are at connecting with ourselves and be creators, like use our creativity?
Totally, yeah. I mean, creativity is a good point, right? Because all businesses are creations of an idea first, and we kind of self-limit our creativity through becoming a robot, right? Yeah. And through these gestures that put us into a space of disconnection from our soul, from our heart, right? From the love state. And like I was talking about earlier, like knowing your why behind what you're doing, and what's really driving that desire for success.
Yes.
So coming back into that space.
Yes. And I mean, it's also important to come back to that why, because when life gets tough, you have to go back to your why. You have to go back to your mission and your purpose-driven business. So how was your childhood like that led you to this breakthrough career?
So I mean, I experienced a lot of heavy enmeshment early on, kind of a caretaker role with my mom, and just losing myself to that. And later on in life, kind of noticing how that played out in relationships and how I would kind of downplay my needs, kind of, the normal trauma bond dynamic that plays out with people. And so, it's just the idea that I've, come into a space where I recognized the value of doing this inner work on myself, and that I was creating these dynamics and these patterns with the people that I was with the circumstances that I was in, and that I was limiting myself from, really going deeper and going further on my path to that place of fulfillment, and seeing that, it wasn't my childhood. It wasn't these people. It was up to me now to develop that relationship with myself. It was gonna give me what I want.
So developing a relationship with yourself, a lot of people don't have that, right? So where would you start if you really don't have that relationship with yourself?
Well, I want to push back on that, because everybody has a relationship with themselves. It's about, is that relationship healthy or not? And in what ways is it not? And so I think it's just building a practice of self-awareness, sitting with yourself and observing, again, any patterns that show up, any disconnection in your life, any ways that you want to avoid the hard stuff, or you want to drop into the coping mechanism to prevent you from feeling something uncomfortable, right? And so developing a healthier relationship to your emotions, to the ways in which you show up for yourself or for other people, and doing that from a place of love and of mercy and grace and compassion for yourself, because, again, we're not perfect. We're perfectly imperfect. And so we're going to make mistakes, and creating a safe space for us to really authentically be ourselves, whatever that means for you, I think is a step forward in strengthening that bond, that relationship that we have with ourselves, right? Because it's equivalent to any other relationship. If you're sitting with someone in relationship, you don't want them to be something other than what they are. I mean, maybe you do, but that's an unhealthy way to look at it, and that's going to show up, right? But if you can let that person be the person that you fell in love with, be the individual that they are, truly in their essence, they're going to probably feel safe and comfortable being around you. So the idea is that you're able to do that with yourself as well, that you're able to be comfortable in your own skin, that you're able to take accountability, feedback, and also humility and a sense of play, and know that nobody's perfect, that we're all learning, we're all doing our best.
Oh, I don't think a lot of people know how to do that.
I think the world is changing. I think you guys are doing good.
I think you're changing the world, Mark. The world's changing because of you.
I'm trying.
Mark is the man behind everybody that's positive and happy and are connected with oneself.
Well, that's a lot to say, but I did, I feel like we should speak a little bit about our work together, because I have done some work with you over the time we've known each other, and watched you grow. And
yes, so Mark has been in my life for a few years now. I don't even remember how many, maybe 5 or 6, I don't know. Sounds
about right.
It's been a long time. And I met Mark at yoga, right? We met each other at yoga, and from there we connected. I don't know, something from Mark just drew me in, and
it was love at first sight.
It was love at first sight. It's love at first sight. So from there, he has been a fundamental part in my growth, in my internal growth, I would say. Because before I met you, let me think, 5-6 years. Yeah, before I met you, I was one of those people that was not really connected to myself. I think that's something that I'm very proud of right now, because I have developed that relationship with myself. And I've been going to dark places with Mark, because I had a really terrible childhood. So I have really dark spaces inside of me that I go to heal. But it's because of all the work that we did together, right? And we continue to do together, that has helped me in my business. And that's why you're here.
Oh, well, I couldn't have done it without you.
Yeah, you need a muse, Mark. You cannot do work without a muse. But
yeah, I think you said a lot of interesting things there. No, seriously, going to the dark spaces, and coming from South America, where it's a different landscape and different culture, and
that place is horrible.
Yeah, there's
not all of the places, just the one that I came from.
Beautiful place, right?
Beautiful place,
beautiful, wonderful place.
Beautiful, wonderful place.
But also, I'm sure there's a lot of ancestral trauma and things like that going on there that.
But there's a lot that's missing.
Passed down,
yeah.
And so going into those dark spaces and being able to do that from a place of compassion, and to not be shy about that, not to be afraid of that, or to be afraid and to do it anyway, right? And I think watching you go there has been really cool.
I mean, I had to change a lot of my belief system. I still struggle with that because of the way I was raised, right? So my beliefs are very ingrained in me. Well, I've been changing that though, but it takes time to change that.
Can you speak to the belief systems? Like, what was something that shifted?
Oh, something that shifted in me. Okay, so I believe that I wasn't worthy of making money. That's one. I have so many beliefs. Or I'm not worthy of creating a business. Okay, so it took me a long time to create a business because of that belief that I had. And that one I had to do on my own. That one I just said, okay, I just have to I know I'm capable of doing this, and just really trust myself along the process. And, slowly I also had to remove myself from my family as well, create more boundaries, healthy boundaries, just because that's really, if I'm having a bad day in my business, I don't want to talk to them. It's going to go even worse because they don't believe, in a woman having their own business. So you're supposed to be an employee or follow the rules or, go a certain way. So for me, that was kind of a struggle. But yes, can you talk more about how important it is to work on your belief system, especially when you're making a business?
Yeah, I mean, it's this idea that we all think for ourselves, right? And so kind of what I was speaking to earlier, that, you're bringing in this child, the innocence and the essence of them who maybe experience some wounds, experience some false narratives. And you're also integrating that with the critical thinking adult. And so you're going back and you're analyzing some of those stories that maybe were told to you that are limiting you from moving on to the next step. I mean, you want to create a business, you want to have success, you want to feel the good things that come along with that and help people. And so in order to do that, it sounds like you have to go back and question that early impression. And it sounds like so easy, right? That like, duh, everyone can do whatever they want and make whatever they want of themselves in the American dream. But it's, that stuff's deeply wired into our DNA, into our brain when we're little like that. And it just echoes in our subconscious. And so even if you're kind of like telling yourself this story that like, yes, I can do this, yes, I can do this, there's a part of you that still feels afraid. There's a part of you that still has that emotional charge, maybe when you're starting to take the steps forward on that path. And so that's kind of the benefit of this work of dissecting these individual parts of ourselves and not pushing them away, but saying, okay, like there's something going on here. I know you're afraid. I'm not going to like bulldoze you into opening this business. I mean, maybe we're going to go through the steps of it, but we're going to actually like sit with the shadow and the emotional process and understand, where is this coming from? Is this attached to I need to feel safe with my mother and father and acquiesce to their belief system? And if I become different than what they think, then, they're not going to love me, because that's a big deal for a child. And so, going into that space and letting her know, hey, you're loved, you're okay. And yeah, you got this. And actually, why don't you just sit in the back seat and let big girl Ale do this work and punch the numbers on the screen, all that stuff.
I'm just thinking that you said a lot of there, by the way. I mean,
you're feeling it now.
Yes. I mean, yes. I think everybody in the room is feeling it. Right, Steve? So the reason why I asked that is because when I talk to my clients, so I work with a lot of different clients. I work with early, and then I work with the most seasoned ones. But one of the things, the common theme across, no matter if you have a business or you're starting one, is the belief system. Your mindset is not ready for what you're about to do. Your beliefs, your fears, and it's a struggle because even if you really want to move forward, you can't unless you change your belief system. And that's something that I am not capable of doing. Obviously, I'm going to motivate you and like support you, but that's something.
It sounds like a belief system.
I believe that I will support you and motivate you, but I do believe that that is a work that you really have to do internally and like be aware of that. But you also need Mark or somebody like Mark to help you with that. I've seen how the belief system can become a challenge for people trying to do something of themselves. Like they spend money and money and they don't, doesn't matter.
Yeah. That's interesting to me. What way specifically has that shown up for clients?
So like if you're starting a business, you know, you really like they have the motivation at the beginning and then they kind of fall through because they don't have, you know, they lose steam. Yeah. They don't believe that they can or that they're able or the information is, you know, like you have to have a certain kind
create
of
a story about it. Like you find like some reason to create a failure, right? Or to stop doing what you're doing because it gets hard. I think anything worth pursuing is obviously hard.
Yeah.
It's at a certain point. It challenges you.
Yes.
That's what growth is.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I think opening up a business and being successful in that is such a great example because at some point you're going to experience resistance on your path and whatever form that takes.
Yeah.
And then there's the exogenous resistance of like, you know, how do we create this product and make it look attractive and to the right audience, obviously. But then there's this like, you know, what am I running up against? Where am I pushing that I need to rest, or maybe I need to pull myself up into the space a little bit more? Yeah. It's interesting. Is there any more specifics about that?
I will send them all to you, Mark.
Okay. We don't want to dissect them right now.
We are going to have like, we're going to create our own program. Mark and I, stay tuned. It will be part of the leadership program. So talking about leadership, how is that what you do help business leaders make clearer and more smarter decisions?
Yeah. So again, it's just knowing who you are, knowing that relationship with yourself, who you are, where you're coming from, where you're going, and why. And I think, again, a lot of people like to think that they know that, you know, but it's very surface level. And so, you know, truly sitting with your authentic essence and finding a path that serves that purpose so that you don't get burnt out, right? You don't spin your wheels. Because I do see that with other entrepreneurs out there where, you know, you're doing something that you believe in, right? And you're spinning your wheels and you're running into these problems. And it's likely that there is some kind of mirror happening there for you that the universe wants you to see that's going to take you to the next level. And most of the time it's like opening up our heart, opening ourselves up to this deeper unifying humanitarian concept, like really organically, authentically, in the way that it's playing out specifically for you and your specific goals. And so as a leader, I think tapping into that essence is where your edge is. Because that's what makes you you and what you're delivering. Because ultimately, any product that comes from that is going to be a reflection of your insights and your creativity.
Yes. Yes. So working on yourself and doing the healing really makes you a better empathetic leader, and it makes you a humble leader, and it makes you the leader that makes everybody follow you, basically. So what would you tell, but there's also different kinds of leaders. What would you tell the other types of leaders that are not so humble, they're not so empathetic?
Hey, you do you. It's cool. It's fine. If it's working for you, it's working for you. There's no judgment, right? Everybody's on their own path and their own timing and their own way. I mean, obviously I would hope that people are ethical and treating each other fairly and positively and thinking about others and contributing value to the world and not just taking it, as I think we're seeing that that's not really working well.
It has not worked well, in the past, yeah. Yes, but now we're entering a new world where people are rebelling.
It seems that way.
Where people are like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to follow the lead of you. I've been spoken in my jobs that I had before. My leaders at my jobs, one of them told me, speak clearly to me when you talk to me. I thought that was kind of rude. It actually made me cry. And, and I had people tell me that I am not worthy of a promotion, which, by the way, I was working my butt for a promotion. And that's the reason why I became my own boss. So there are leaders out there that are, they don't know how to lead, I would say, or they lead at their own way. Yeah,
that's fair. There's always room for growth.
Yeah.
And And yeah, it sounds like, being able to see who's in front of you, because you know yourself.
Yeah.
You're able to see yourself, so then you're able to see others a little bit more clearly.
Yes.
And speak to the direction that they're going in.
Yeah.
And creating like this win-win environment, I think that that's something I've been really thinking about lately, is like not playing into the zero-sum game, creating a win-win. We can all get what we need, right? And I think with business, there's a lot of competition, or the idea of it. And you can still create wealth and success and value in this world without having to knock over someone else.
I do not believe in competition, and I don't believe in competition because what Alejandro has to offer is very unique than what whoever else, my competitors, would like to offer. So I don't believe in competition. I also believe that this world is huge and there's room for everyone in this world. But I do believe that there's people out there that do feel I'm going to run you over. I do believe in grabbing market share. I'm all about that. I will grab your market with my uniqueness, but I don't believe in competing with one another. Sometimes I give clients to people that are doing the same thing that I do because I don't have the bandwidth to take care of them. So I'm like, here you go. Here's the client. And I'm okay with that. Yeah. I think it's coming back to me one day.
That's awesome. There's plenty to go around for sure. And it just creates an energy inside of you that's nice to be around, right? And that's attractive.
Yeah.
And with that kind of mindset and energy, you will be successful eventually. And the energy around competition, there's a healthy competition, right? But there's, a space where it can get into its shadow aspect, and it can be like me, and that energy, again, like you may get that goal, but how are you going to feel when you get there at the end of all of this? And so I think what makes it much more sustainable is enjoying the process along the way, and contributing something that feels collaborative and helpful for everybody.
Yes, no, I agree 100%. So in terms of what you do as a transformational coach, what would you recommend for leaders that want to stay grounded and be able to survive, or not survive, but like excel in a chaotic situation?
You saved yourself there. Yeah. Excel, thriving, not surviving.
Thriving, yeah.
So I think that's it right there, is create that environment within yourself, within your life. Take the time to nourish yourself on every level, right? Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And that investment in you will pay off and will bleed out into your endeavors and work. So take the time, create a practice, something that involves something higher than yourself, a higher power. Because I think, like, I would imagine in these situations where you're the CEO, you're the boss, like you're kind of on the top, and that's a lot of pressure because everybody's looking towards you. But you have to remember, we're just human, right? And we're part of a bigger scheme here. And so connecting to whatever it is that feels like it's up there or supporting you would probably be beneficial to your journey and make you feel a little bit more relaxed in the process.
Is there any type of meditation that you recommend in order to feel supported, or when you're stressed?
I think anything that works for you, anything that gets you into your body is great. I mean, obviously I love yoga, I love breathing. And for people that are new to this kind of thing, or like, you don't have the time for it, 15 minutes a day of just sitting there in a room with your phone off, with no distractions, and just letting your mind think or wonder is fascinating and so beneficial for your creativity. So I feel like, the people that push back on that, like, I don't have 15 minutes, I'm going from this thing to that thing. I'm like, well, maybe you need to rearrange your schedule, or you need to think about, hey, like, what ways are you wasting your time scrolling on social media, or doing this or doing that, or, sitting with the ruminating thoughts and the uncomfortable feelings that are coming up for you that you're ignoring and suppressing, that continue to come back up, not really getting to the root of them. That wastes a lot of people's time, or circular conflicts with your partner, or whatever that is, and so being, really optimized for how your schedule works and for how your time is and your potency within this life. Because I think that some people don't account for the ways in which they waste a lot of their energy doing a lot of fruitless things.
Instagram.
Yeah, sure. Instagram can be good too, right? But it's all about the intention and how you use it.
If you watch Mark's videos, they're good for you.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you would say meditation. What else would you recommend?
Yeah, daily practice, meditation, healthy interpersonal communication with others. So, having that support network. So whether you're in a relationship romantically or not, but having those people that you can go to, that can see you, that you can bounce ideas off of, that have, kind of seeing you through the various stages of life and your growth process, that have watched you have hard days and good days. And, asking them for like honest feedback. Because honestly, I don't feel like a lot of people tap into that resource. Is like, can you give me honest feedback?
And also people are scared of giving you honest feedback.
Exactly. They're scared of hurting your feelings, or that's not what you really want to hear. They're going to turn you off. But creating that safe space for that and like asking for it genuinely can be pretty powerful, because if somebody's willing to do that's a mirror right there. And that doesn't require you to go through a lot of the terrible experiences that you would have to otherwise in order to get that reflection, right? You can just get that through safe communication. Right?
If you are open to receive feedback. I mean, I am a direct communicator, and sometimes I give feedback when nobody asks me, and people don't like it.
Yeah, well, you kind of have to ask. It's a boundaries thing.
I've learned not to give feedback anymore.
Your feedback is stop giving feedback.
Yes, my feedback is to stop giving feedback. That is correct. So going back to like the business area, what would you say, how can somebody work internally? No, let me rephrase that. How can someone that is working on themselves be able to impact on the culture that they're developing in their organization?
Yeah, just bringing to the table what it is that you're passionate about, what it is that you're learning in your own journey, because I think that that's what people resonate with as your own organic expression of this and your value system. Bringing that to the table and seeing how that interplays with other people's situations.
So is there any way that people can incorporate any internal development, personal development exercises for employees as they continue to build their culture?
Yeah, so I would love to see spaces, and maybe you guys are already doing this out there, but spaces where you can really authentically communicate how you're feeling. Like maybe once a week, you guys come together and each person is given the opportunity to safely communicate whatever it is that they were feeling that week without any punishment, without any judgment, and just letting them speak from a space of feeling and bringing some education to, authentic feeling expression. Because when we speak with people, oftentimes we're saying like, you made me feel this way, or you did this and you did that. And so like teaching people to communicate non-violently, meaning that they're communicating their own felt experience directly, is very objective and open and can show a lot of insight into how someone else is doing and give you a lot of compassion and empathy for them. And so in a team environment, it can create a lot of cohesion between individuals who are looking to understand each other better, and it resolves conflict in such a beautiful way. And so I would bring some of that to the table, because I bet you, it might be a little bit hard at first to hold everyone's feelings, but moving through that space and really understanding each other and the data and information that's there. Because like as a business, right, isn't that what we're about, is like understanding the numbers and gathering information? Well, could you do that with your employees and with the emotional data and with the quality and culture of the workplace? That's huge. And, I've heard that employee retention plays a big role in businesses, and the culture and the environment that they work in that draws people into it. And so we hear these really positive stories about like the Google or the this or that have this amazing campus and then this culture around it. And so people want to work for them. And that's partly probably what makes them successful in some way or another.
Yeah. So I just had a huge episode last week that we went over what having a positive team and a cohesive culture does to a business valuation, and which, for a business of 2 million, that could be instead of 6 million, that could be 12 million valuation. So it's all about the intangible assets, right? So having these kind of conversations and allowing for this type of collaboration and interaction between teammates basically means more creativity, more innovation, and more cohesiveness, which on the long run, your business is going to thrive. And you're going to have less employee turnover, which is what we want. And especially in a market that where we are right now, because the market right now is horrible for employees.
And I think you're probably just going to feel better, right? And people that feel better are happier, they're more successful.
Yeah. Yes. So when it comes to, I mean, we talked about personal and professional growth, but I want to know a little bit more about kind of like self-care routines that you recommend to people that they can do, to improve themselves relationship-wise and heal themselves on a daily basis, that they don't need to go to a coach to do that they can do themselves.
Okay. Well, journaling, I would start there. That's a huge one that's helped me. Just writing down your thoughts and feelings. There's a lot of value in that. It's really underestimated. The way that the brain works and processes information, and when you see that on paper and how that reflects back to you, can give you a lot of insight into your mindset, how you're doing, how you're feeling, and that will help lead you into some more positive spaces. And again, it's just about understanding your specific schedule. Before I give you some more things to add into it, I would look at the ways in which you are not utilizing your time in the most potent way. And so creating those moments for physical activity, let's say, for the whole system of who you are, your body, right? Your mind. Are you also learning new things, digesting information from various sources, and staying interested and passionate about things outside of your work? That's important. And
what would you say to somebody that is an empath that absorb the personality, that they absorb other people's energy? How can they work around it? Because being an empath is hard.
So I have a controversial opinion about this.
Okay.
I used to consider myself an empath. And I think when you're referring to empath, it's someone who's really sensitive, is taking on everyone else's energy. And honestly, it's a form of trauma, in my opinion.
Okay.
To be so sensitive to other people in the room means that there's a trigger there inside of you, right? Because other people are mirroring to you the wounds that you have within yourself. And so someone who is in that hypersensitive state is probably not fully comfortable with their emotions, probably hasn't fully owned the way that they feel, and potentially is projecting that out onto something external, and could be creating a victim mentality for themselves. So I would say, do the inner work, know that you're in charge, that it's not personal, right? That other people are going to be who they are. It has, really nothing to do with you. And as you understand who you are and how you feel and what's making you tick and where your triggers are, you're not going to have so much of a problem with that anymore. You're going to be sensitive and empathetic in the right ways, and you're going to be able to distance yourself and put space in those more toxic elements, or the elements that aren't for you or about you.
Is there any kind of meditation that people can do to I don't know?
Yeah, sure. It's just like object permanence. You're over there, I'm over here. It's for me anyway, it's indicative that I don't feel safe around you because I feel like in some way I have to acquiesce to your presence in the room in order to get my needs met. Yeah. Because I had to do that from a young age. Yeah. And so I don't have to do that. I'm an adult, and I can communicate clearly to you my boundaries and how I'm feeling and how it's affecting me. So learning the skills of setting boundaries, of honest, nonviolent communication will be huge for an empath. And going through that practice of just recognizing, hey, you're your own individual, you're on your own path, and it has very little to do with me. And maybe, it's a reflection of me in some ways that I can take a look at. And is that hard for me to take a look at? Where are those triggers within me? And so just continue to do that work on those triggers and where they're originating from. Because as you heal those things, they just dissolve, and they dissolve into a space of love and joy and creativity and happiness and all those good things.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So all of your trauma goes into healing, heals, and then goes to the space, and you become a free, light, peaceful, creative individual. Sounds like
that's
heaven.
the dream, right?
Sounds
That's
like
the dream.
heaven.
It's just, it's what's getting in the way of that, right? Where's the eclipse happening? And, it's okay if it is, but let's take a look at that. Let's not be afraid to go in that shadow, because behind the shadow is a whole lot of light.
So you are basically, all of us are just one step away from achieving what we want. It's like at arm's length, basically, by working on ourselves. It's right there on the other corner, basically.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's just, how many years does people have to work on themselves? I'm working on myself for a long time.
They said 75 is the average lifespan these days.
Yeah, so forever. So work on yourself forever to get what you want in life.
It's a constant, beautiful work in progress.
Yeah,
right? It's a masterpiece. So we're never quite done if we're still here, but that's okay, because.
But to heal all the trauma from the past.
Yeah, to just be on the journey.
Yeah.
To be on that journey and to notice the triggers and the layers that come. You take one layer off, there's another
and then there's
layer
more
there.
and more and
Eventually
more.
you just kind of settle into it, and
Yeah.
it just is what it is. And it doesn't really, for me anyway, it doesn't really bother me anymore. Like, bad stuff can happen to me, but it's like, okay, I'm cool.
So you're cool.
I'm still
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I'll deal
How
with
long
it.
did it took you to get
I'll
to
deal
that
with it.
place?
I'm still working on it, man.
But to that place of
it's I think at some point, it's just after enough stuff, it kind of clicked.
Okay.
Yeah.
You kind of got the click moment.
Yeah, and it still is. Again, there's layers, but
it's not as before. It's not as what it used to be before.
definitely not. I mean, I definitely remember a point when I was younger where things felt more dramatic.
Yeah.
Like, you think about a teenager, everything's like the end of the world.
Yeah.
So there's a constant evolution happening there, and moving away from that space of hypersensitivity and reactivity
Yeah.
into empowerment and
Yes. Back to healing yourself, basically. That's basically what it is. That's the theme.
knowing thyself, right? Knowing who you are.
Yeah.
And knowing what's hindering you from the perfection of who you are, perfectly imperfect, the light inside of you. Right?
Okay. And what would you say to people that are listening that right now, what would you tell them if they are in a position that they don't want to be anymore, or maybe they're trying to start their business or trying to scale their business, but they're having these challenges and obstacles? What would you tell them?
Well, keep your heart open, keep your eyes open, be patient with yourself. Observe the information coming from your inner world as much as you're observing the external data and the numbers, and see how it all interplays together, because it's all connected. And I bet you'll find a lot of value on looking at the way that you're showing up, from a place of compassion and mercy and self-love. And that can go a long way.
So have a lot of compassion on yourself. Don't be too harsh.
Yeah, I wanted to really reiterate that point, because I think that in this game, people put a lot of weight on performance and external validation and the numbers. And obviously that's important, and you need to be successful. I get it. We're living on Earth. But, what do you have to give up along the way, and what's hindering you in that process? And, can you come from this place of love? Can you feel good while you do that,
So being compassionate to myself is something that I've learned along the way, because apparently I was not. That's something that's been part of my growth period. And I am sure that there's people out there that are CEOs and owners of businesses that are also hard on themselves. I think that comes a little bit with the territory, to be honest. We're very perfectionist, and you can do better. You redo the videos because you can do better. And now I'm like, okay, well, this is good. Looks good right now. I'm trying to be empathetic to myself, because you're doing 10 tasks in one day. You're not just doing 3 they tell you to do. Just do 3. No, doing 10, 20, and working till 10 p.m. So what is the best way, if you would tell them, to those very headstrong individuals like me, what would be the advice you would tell them, the first step, in order to be more compassionate with themselves?
Yeah, I mean, from what I hear in that statement, it's, re-recording that video over and over again just to get it perfect. It's maybe it was actually good enough. Or maybe it was just like, you know, the judgment that you put on yourself. And I think like doing that work on yourself of giving yourself the grace, giving yourself the love of a person who's really authentically showing up here for her business. I'm sure that there's a frequency to that people will connect to. And just to take that in its raw form and give it to them, because yeah, it's who you are and it's who your essence is. And that's something that's valuable because nobody else has that but you. So that's beautiful.
And sometimes the first video is usually the best one, which it sucks.
Yeah, right. Because it's like in the content space, you can get into this mode of like, oh my God, like my eye looked whatever, you know, and you can get really critical of yourself. So it's almost like a spiritual practice to record content and to just like sit with it, let it be there, like be authentic, you know, and people can feel when you're not. They can feel the frequency of someone who's speaking from that place of power and of life experience. And you know, drop into your body, get grounded, and say what you want to say, and let it land. It's cool. We're each on our own journey, and it's okay if you're not there and you haven't started yet. Maybe you need a few more failures or hard things to show up in your life.
Oh my God, no.
Or
no more failures.
You can be proactive about it.
Actually, no. Failures are part of success. Because without a failure, sometimes when businesses fail, and I had businesses contracting right now through the economy, right, that of people that I know, and it actually creates more opportunity. So there's no room for failure. Yeah. It's actually just an opportunity.
There's only growth opportunities.
Yeah. So there's no failure, but the fact that you say that you have to go through more experiences that are hard in order to show up and say, I'm done, I'm going to have to work on myself. When does that moment, when does that moment happen?
I mean, that's the only reason why I can sit here and say that. You know, is that's just happening repeatedly for me throughout my life.
Yeah.
And you get to this place where you're like, okay, well, I've been here before. I can start to see that storm brewing. I don't need that lesson anymore. No, thank you. I'm going to actually like step up to the plate here and be proactive with my life. Yeah. It's a delicate space, right? Because you don't want to be hyper vigilant. You don't want to be looking for things. You want to be in the flow. So be in the flow, but also know that sometimes you got to grow.
Yes. No, I agree with you. So is there anything that you want to say that I have not asked you yet?
How do you integrate all the things that you've been through and all these traumas and bad work environments? And I don't know the whole history, but I'm just like sensing it as you talk about it. How do you take all of that and turn that into gold for you?
I make a podcast out of it. So we're here. I make businesses. I mean, I have purpose-driven businesses for a reason. I'm actually creating an event soon as well. I want to make an impact in the world, and it's through my experience, and it's through what people have said to me, like speak clearly to me and things like that, you know? So I turn all those experiences into something positive by creating an impact by my businesses.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, I recognize that everybody's going through their own journey and their own path. And unfortunately, you know, I crossed through their path. But it was there for a reason, because if it wouldn't be there for the reason, then I wouldn't have the fire that I have now to create my businesses. And that the things, the events, and all of the projects that I'm doing is to make an impact in the world because of them. So thank you. I speak clearly now.
What would you say that the version of you 10 years from now would say about what you're doing right now, who you are? So
10 years from now, ahead in time, she's probably going to be like, oh my God, you took so long. But I mean, the version of myself in 10 years just wants to be free and really have a lot of peace. So that's where I'm going, for freedom and peace. And that can be in a lot of different ways in my head. It can be by traveling. It can be by investing. It can be by continuing to support woman in entrepreneurship or by making an impact in some other way. And peace by just really being at peace with myself. Like what you say, you know, being meditating with yourself and just being in your own space. I've been doing that a lot more lately, and it has helped me a lot with the way that I come across, like I show up for myself and for my company and for my clients. So yeah, that's my goal, 10 years.
Awesome. Yeah, and not to be in a hurry to get there either, to settle into it, enjoy the journey, enjoy the process that you're at, because it's a beautiful moment and it's beautiful to witness it. So.
Agreed. I have learned, actually, before I used to be more outcome focused. Oh my God, I need to get there. I need to do this. I want to see myself known for this and that. And now I don't care anymore. Now I am like, I like the process a lot more than the outcome, because I've learned there was a shift in me. I've learned that the process is where the magic happens. Before, I was all about the outcome, and probably people relate to that. When you are in finance, you get to do KPIs and you need to measure things and performance, and that's how your brain gets wired. But then when I started tapping into my creative side, I said, oh, I like the process more than the outcome.
Nice.
Yeah. Any other questions? I feel like I'm being interviewed.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's just you're enjoying the journey. You're doing great stuff. You're bringing awareness to topics that need to come up, I think, that are relevant for people and for their growth all around. And so
all I say is that myself, right? I cannot speak for anybody else, but me, myself, and I cannot do something unless I'm passionate about it. And you can tell. I mean, I actually had friends that tell me, Alejandra, you stop doing that, because you could see it in your face that your passion just left. So you could see it in your face that you didn't want to do it anymore. So I am a very organic person. If there's something I do not want to do, I just don't do it, because you could see it. And faking it until you make it does not work for me.
I love that. Yeah. Faking it till you make it. It's an interesting phrase, isn't it? I mean, I kind of see like how, it's like you got to become that person. You got to like take on that energy of who they are, the person that's made it, the version of you, right? So I can see that, but I also see like, oh, there's something maybe also, if you're being inauthentic about that, something fake about that it wouldn't be right. But
so yeah, I can see that.
Find the balance. But
are you really faking it when you're actually embodying who you are, that you want to be?
Yeah.
Because that's like really, you're evolving, right?
So it's semantics. There's maybe a better way to say it.
Yeah, I think so, because I do feel like that. I feel like I'm evolving, I'm changing, right? I'm not faking it. It's just what it is. But I do know that I'm becoming the person I'm supposed to be.
I'm becoming her. I love it.
I'm becoming her.
It's way better than faking it.
It's way better than faking it. But I mean, to everybody that's out there, some people, fake it to make it is kind of like the American way of doing things. And that's okay.
Let's reclaim that phrase.
Yeah.
Instead of fake it till you make it, I am becoming her. I am in the process of becoming something great right now. I am
that person.
I am that person.
I am that person. But don't go scamming anybody from out of this podcast. We're not telling you to scam people. We're just saying you're becoming that person. You are that person. Yeah.
All that in a great sense of humor, guys.
I have to do legal disclaimers with my podcast because, just for anybody that's watching, this is just educational purposes. It's not for you to replace it with a professional advice, because it's true. And yes, you are that person, but do not scam other people.
You scam other people, you're scamming yourself, right?
That is true. You're scamming yourself. Yeah, correct. There you have it. Anything else that you want to say to the people?
Thanks for having me on. It's been a good time.
Thank you, Mark, for coming on board to Scale to Exit.
This has been a great topic of conversation. Obviously I've focused a lot on interpersonal relationships and self-love and growth, but to see how that they play into business sense and work environments is next level.
Mark, you're selling yourself short. Mark has actually helped me with my organization culture events. Remember when I used to bring
Yeah, I do remember
the
that.
team to
Good times.
Yes. So that's part of the work that you do too. He brings teams together. So for anybody that's listening that has a team or want to improve on their leadership skills by healing their inner child, then Mark is your transformative coach to do that. Right, Mark? Yeah.
Amen.
Amen. And he does remote work, right? You do.
I do. Most of my work is remote. If you're LA based, you can also come see me in my home in Venice. Come check me out on Instagram, Stretch Heart Strong, or stretchyourheart.com.
Nice. So where can we find you, Mark?
Stretchyourheart.com. Book a call with me. We can chat. It's free. We'll go from there. And you can always follow me on Instagram. Send me a DM. I'm very active on there. Stretch Heart Strong.
Awesome. So thank you for coming. And I love this episode because we're talking about how to develop our own self by healing our inner child to become the leader, the humble leader that we're meant to be, to impact and grow and make the impact on other people around us, and overall increase the valuation of your business. So thank you for having us on our first YouTube episode. Yay!
Yay.
And I will see you next time. Adios, muchachos. Bye.
Cool.
That was good, right?
That was fun.